So here's the thing. Loneliness and isolation is something I've wanted to talk about for a long time because it's something I've experienced myself and want to try and change. And in our so-called connected world, it's become one of the biggest problems we face. Take a seat. This is the Life Bench. Thank you for joining me on this week's episode. I'm still getting over this cold, so hopefully I don't sound too bad. Before we start, I just wanted to mention a video that Amber's brother Aaron sent to me over the weekend. It was of Mr. Beast, and it was one he'd recorded 10 years ago and scheduled for release that weekend. In it, he's, of course, very young, and he says he currently has 8,000 subscribers on YouTube, and that he hopes that he'll be doing it as a full-time job. He also says that he hopes to have 1 million subscribers in 10 years' time. And as of that video being released, he was currently at 344 million subscribers on YouTube. 344 million is just insane. And what an achievement in 10 years. And it just shows what can be achieved in what seems like such a long period of time. Time passes so quickly that 10 years seems like a long time, but it really isn't. And so on Monday just gone, I made my own similar video. It's only 2 to 3 minutes long, where I say that I've received this video from Aaron, give the date, where I'm currently at with Instagram followers, YouTube subscribers, and overall listeners. And let's see where I can get to in 5 or 10 years' time. I hope I'm still doing this, and I hope that it's grown into something pretty special. Hopefully it's helped a lot of people, and that some of my other ideas and plans are out there in the world. I'm passionate and determined to succeed, and really looking forward to seeing where it can go. So last week's episode was about unfinished conversations, and hopefully it gave some of you, the push to reach out to those that you care about, or the people that pop into your head. I said in the episode how it was a particularly poignant one, for obvious reasons. And this week is no different. I've had this topic in my mind right from the beginning, because it was this subject matter that started me on my journey into trying to create or build something to help with the particular problem. It was a few years back when I had a few ideas on how to try and have an impact on this problem, and it's still one I'm working on. I've tweaked the ideas slightly and changed them, but I've finally settled on one I think that can really help, and I'm hoping to put it out there for investment soon. And so today I want to cover the topic and discuss some of the different elements around the ongoing problem of loneliness and isolation, like my own personal experiences, how and why it's such a problem, and how we can find our way back to reconnecting as a society. It's a serious problem, and I think more needs to be done to try and tackle it. Loneliness and isolation are difficult things to describe unless you've really felt them. I think a lot of people think of the obvious descriptions, like someone being a loner, sitting in an empty room, or spending a weekend by yourself. But the reality is that a lot of the time, it's having lots of friends, being surrounded by people, and still feeling like no one sees you. I felt like this, and I'm sure a lot of you listening will have as well. For me, those feelings of loneliness and isolation came later in my life. Growing up, I had great friends. I was lucky that a lot of us lived in the same village, and we were close right through school to when we started going out. I think that era, society and technology at the time played a big part in that, which we'll come on to later. And so I never really felt lonely or isolated until probably 2012 when my uncle died, which, as I've said before, meant I shut myself away and lost contact with a lot of my friends. Ads was a constant during this time, but because of my own grief, I wasn't there for him as much as I should have been. And then when he passed away, that feeling of loneliness and isolation got a lot worse. I didn't realise it at the time, and it's only now looking back that I see that impact that grief has had on me and what it made me do. I did all the wrong things that felt right at the time because I'd never faced grief like this before. So I didn't reply to messages, I didn't go on nights out, I made excuses not to meet up, which all led to losing touch with those friends and the people that I cared about. It's not that I didn't care, it's just that I didn't feel like I could put myself out there. I just wanted to hide away. And grief does that. Life does that. We build so many of these walls to protect ourselves, not realising that those same walls are shutting out the important people that we need. What I've learnt from all of this is that loneliness doesn't come from a lack of friends or people around us. It comes from a lack of connection. As humans, we need connection. We're not meant to do life on our own, even if sometimes we tell ourselves we can. Connection is what keeps us grounded, gives us that feeling of being seen or understood, that feeling that we're not alone and we're part of something bigger. And it's strange that in a world where we're more connected than ever, we can feel so disconnected from those around us. And as I've said, we'll come on to the impact of our so-called connected world shortly. But connection isn't easy these days, and it doesn't just happen. It takes a lot of work and effort. If we're isolated for too long, we can forget how to interact with those around us, overthink and second-guess everything. And that's what loneliness and isolation can do, distort the way we see the world and the way we see ourselves. Connection is the only thing to pull you out of that place, and it's so important in our daily lives. It's something I'm really passionate about, and it's part of the reason for doing the Life Bench. And it's also what started me on the solo journey of trying to build and create something. Although I'd had ideas around it for a while, I don't think it was until the middle of 2024 that I actually started working on them. Some of you may have seen my idea for Affinity, the new kind of social network aimed at trying to tackle this problem and build those real-life connections that we need. This is still something I'm working on, but it's a huge undertaking, a social network, and it's not been easy to find the level of investment needed to get it built. I'm also working on another idea which needs less money, but it has the same aim, and hopefully in the future I can get it made, get it put out into the world and make an impact in this ongoing problem. So why has loneliness and isolation become such a problem in our modern world? When I look back at my childhood and teenage years, life certainly felt more connected, but not because things were perfect, but I think because it was a simpler time. Technology didn't play such a huge part in our lives. New things were only just starting to come in. So that connection, that real in-person contact was much more prevalent. You'd knock for your friends after school, arrange to meet up and do stuff, or just sit around talking rubbish for hours. All of these things built that real connection. And when things like the first Nokia came out with only the ability to call, text, or play an amazing game called Snake, it didn't stop or interfere with those in-person meetups. It just made it easier to arrange them. Even when MSN Messenger was a big part of the internet and the home computer, it didn't take away from that human connection. That was always the most important thing. Meeting up, getting out and doing something. It didn't matter what it was, as long as you were with your friends. Now things are very different. We're more connected than ever before digitally, but that's a big part of the problem. Technology has made it easier to communicate, but harder to truly connect. We message instead of call. We scroll instead of talk. We put our lives in social media instead of actually living them. We're constantly distracted and It's taking away from what's really happening around us, which isn't what's online, because that's not reality. Much of it is a lie. Society doesn't help either. Everything is so much faster and more hectic now. Our jobs, the world we live in, life in general. We're constantly told to keep moving, stay busy, aim for this or that. And then we're shown these fake, unrealistic lives by people online. And that combination just means that there's less time for real connection. Friendships take time, effort, and vulnerability. The three things that feel so much harder these days. The world we live in today also means we've got endless access to information, entertainment, and distraction right at our fingertips. It's constant. Every scroll, every video, every notification gives us a tiny hit of dopamine. And over time, we've conditioned ourselves to chase that feeling. We don't even realize it, but our brains are being rewired to crave stimulation instead of satisfaction. And because of this, our tolerance level of patience has been affected. There's very little delayed gratification anymore. Everything's fast and immediate. We don't have to wait for much. And I think that's changed how we experience connection too. Real relationships, real communities, built over time and through shared experiences, all in person and in the little moments of life that you do together, something that isn't easy in today's world. And then, of course, there's the stigma. People don't talk about feeling lonely. It's seen as a weakness or that there's something wrong with you. But none of that is true. It's just part of being human. It's your body's way of sending you a signal that something is missing from your life. And that's why it's such a problem and why so many people feel it. Studies show it's becoming one of the biggest mental health issues of our time. And that says a lot about the way our world is built. We've got all this amazing technology and the ability to stay in touch, but none of it translates into real human connection. And that's why things need to change, and why I'm driven to try and create something to make a difference. Connection doesn't come from being online or always available. It comes from being present, sharing experiences, in the moment, in person. For all of our advancements as humans, it's something pretty big that we've lost along the way. And if we don't do something about it, it could lead to more serious problems in the future. So as I've said, I've got some of my own ideas about how to try and help this problem. But I've also been doing other things myself to help, to rebuild those connections I lost when I was grieving, and be more present in the moments that matter. It's not easy after shutting yourself away for so many years, but you've got to start small and with intention. Reaching out to old friends, replying to messages instead of overthinking or putting them off. Saying yes to things I would have avoided before. Yes, they're simple things, but slowly and with time, they can all add up. Connection was a huge part of what I lost through grief, and the things I'm doing now are all part of the healing process. But even if you're not grieving, making the effort to do things like this and connect with the people that you care about is vitally important for your day-to-day life. And it's not just reconnecting with people either. It's about reconnecting with yourself. When you feel lonely or isolated, you lose touch with who you really are and how you want to live your life. You start to see yourself through that distorted reality, and that can have such a negative impact. Very few of us look inward and work on ourselves, but it's something we need to do more of. Again, it's not always easy, but if we do, it will make reconnecting with others easier and much more enjoyable too. So do the things I've spoken about in other episodes to feel more grounded and present. Take a walk, journal, exercise, spend time with your dog, or get out in nature. And a big one, limit your phone and screen time. This has had a huge impact on me, and I promise it will for you as well. If you're listening to this and you're in that place of feeling disconnected, I just want to say that you're not alone in feeling that way. So many people are struggling with it, even if they don't show it. And I know it doesn't feel like there's any help out there sometimes, but there is always someone or something that can help. And I'm hoping that if I can get Affinity or one of my other ideas into the world, that this will also have a positive impact on those of us that feel this way. I'm trying to find ways to bring people together again and make it easier for us to connect. Because I know how it feels to be lonely and isolated, and how powerful it can be to connect with people on a real level again. So yeah, that's been loneliness and isolation. It's something that affects so many of us in different ways, and it isn't always obvious to others. You can have a busy life, a full social circle, and still feel completely alone. Loneliness isn't about how many people you have around you. It's about how connected you feel to them. Like a lot of the topics I talk about, for me it's been a journey of looking back and recognizing how I was, and then now taking action to rectify things and make sure it doesn't happen again. It's small steps, and I'm not trying to fix everything overnight, but I'm showing up and trying to do something every day to make a difference. And as I've said, if you're in that place right now, feeling disconnected or unseen, please remember you're not alone and that you're only human. Be kind to yourself and try and do some of the little things to help. The world can feel overwhelming and fast at times, and it's not easy to have the connections we need. But if we're open, honest, and work together, I think it's something we can tackle before it gets really serious. Thank you as always for listening. It really does mean a lot. An important episode for me this week with how it ties in to my other ideas. And if it resonated with you, please let me know. Or maybe share it with someone you might think that needs it. I just also wanted to say that I checked my overall listeners when I recorded that video I spoke about earlier, and I was at 1,087 overall listeners, which I'm so pleased about. So thank you for all of your support and joining me on this journey. Please continue to do all the things that I say every week that help. I do appreciate it so much. I'm not going to say too much about the quote that I've chosen to end this week's episode, as I think that it says it all. It's from the Dalai Lama, and it really emphasizes the inherent social nature of humans and the fundamental role of real connections. We humans are social beings. We come into the world as the result of others' actions. We survive here in dependence on others. Whether we like it or not, there is hardly a moment of our lives when we do not benefit from others' activities. For this reason, it is hardly surprising that most of our happiness arises in the context of our relationships with others.